She doesn't love you. She doesn't even know you. But if you play this right, she'll risk everything just to be close with you. There will be arguments, tears, silent nights where she tells herself she should walk away. But no matter how much chaos it causes, she keeps returning, as if some invisible thread keeps pulling her back to you. Why? Because when a woman feels that rare, unexplainable pull toward a man, logic doesn't matter. Rules don't matter. Even her own well-being becomes secondary. We begin there, with that pull. And what kind of man can create it? She says she wants a good man, but she reads about monsters. She says she wants peace, but she dreams of chaos with a jawline. She says she wants stability, but only after she's chased the storm. Why is this? Why would a woman walk away from the man who gives her everything, for a man who gives her nothing but confusion, silence, or challenge? Because attraction is not born in logic. It's born in myth. Behind her curated Instagram feed, behind her feminist slogans, her self-love journey, lives a creature older than civilization, a woman with primal instincts, shaped by 300,000 years of evolution. And that woman isn't looking for comfort. She's looking for transcendence. She doesn't want to manage a man. She wants to be claimed by one, not controlled, but consumed. And that is why the forbidden man haunts her imagination, because he awakens something ancient. In myth, he's the outlaw king, the brooding wolf who walks alone. He's Hades, god of the underworld, who takes Persephone by the hand. She didn't marry him because he begged. She followed him because she saw a realm inside him that no soft boy could offer. And that's the part no one tells you. Sometimes, a woman wants to fall. She wants to risk her name, her safety, her entire world to touch a man who doesn't need her to be complete. This man isn't toxic. He's untouchable. He doesn't pursue her. He walks through life with a purpose deeper than desire. And that's what makes him magnetic. Because the forbidden man, he doesn't orbit her. She orbits him. She makes excuses. She sends signals. She lies to herself. But the truth is, she's drawn to the edge he lives on. And that edge is where her illusions die. Because women aren't bored by men who are too nice. They're bored by men who are too predictable. Safety without mystery is sterile. Love without power is flat. Attention without distance is dull. So she craves what she can't control, what she can't define, what feels like danger, but tastes like meaning. And the forbidden man offers exactly that. But not on purpose. It's who he is. A man who doesn't bend just because she's beautiful. A man who sees through her tricks. A man who looks at her with the eyes of someone who's already met his own shadow. She senses it, and she wants it. Not because he's better than other men, but because he carries something sacred, a kind of spiritual independence that makes her question everything, her values, even herself. This is the beginning of obsession, because once a woman senses that kind of man exists, her old life starts to feel too small. Even if she stays with her boyfriend, even if she posts cute couple selfies, even if she pretends she's fulfilled, that memory of him will live in her spine like a ghost. Because when a woman meets a man who walks like fire in a world of plastic, she realizes how bored she's been pretending she's not. At first, it's thrilling for her to feel in charge. She thinks she has you figured out. You're responsive, open, maybe even vulnerable, and that makes her feel powerful. In her mind, she's playing chess while you're still arranging your pawns. She studies your words, your reactions, your eagerness to please, and for a time, she believes she's ahead. But then something changes. You stop reacting the way you used to. You don't give her the same emotional rush she expected. You're not hurt when she withdraws. You don't panic when she tests you. You're calm, maybe even colder, and it begins to destabilize her. The moment she realizes you are not emotionally dependent on her, it's the beginning of her confusion. She thought you needed her attention to feel worthy. She assumed your desire for her gave her leverage. But now, your silence doesn't feel like weakness. It feels like strength, and that terrifies her. Most women are not prepared for a man who doesn't need them to feel whole. When you don't orbit around her approval, it feels like a threat to her sense of control. She will try harder. At first, she might provoke you, disappear for a few hours, flirt with others, or test you with coldness. But when those strategies don't work, a deep frustration begins to build. Understand this. Her power over men has always come from the way they emotionally collapse under pressure. When she pulls away, they chase. When she shows sadness, they rush to fix it. When she's unpredictable, they get anxious and try harder. But you're doing none of that. You're not trying to fix her moods. You're not taking the bait. And she doesn't know how to handle that. Eventually, she begins to spiral. At first, she thought you were soft-hearted, easily seduced by kindness and charm. But now, you're acting like someone who's tasted her beauty and still remained grounded. That shakes her self-image. It makes her wonder, why isn't he trying to win me over anymore? She might accuse you of being distant, cold, even emotionally unavailable. But it's not because you've changed. It's because you're no longer feeding her sense of control. This is where her emotional grip begins to fall apart. She may double down, become more affectionate, even overly sweet. Not out of love, but out of a need to restore the balance of power. If that doesn't work, she may go the other direction, become cold, dismissive, even cruel. It's her way of trying to reassert control through chaos. She wants to stir your emotions back into play. But if you remain unmoved, she begins to doubt herself. And here's what most men never understand. This is not the moment to comfort her. If you try to reassure her too quickly, she'll feel like she's won again. She'll know she can still emotionally move you, and the spell is broken. But if you stay grounded, if you hold your frame while remaining calm and respectful, she won't know what to do next. She will feel something rare, respect, mixed with fear. And this fear is not about physical harm, it's psychological. It's the fear of being emotionally disarmed. She no longer knows how to navigate a man she cannot predict or manipulate. It forces her to question everything she thought she understood about male behavior. And this is where the emotional tables begin to turn. A man who stays composed while she unravels is the one she can't forget. Not because he ignored her, but because he remained rooted in something deeper than her approval. That's the kind of man her instincts are drawn to, even if her ego resists him. And the more her tactics fail to work, the more obsessed she becomes with understanding him. This obsession isn't always romantic. It can be competitive, emotional, even self-destructive. She may try to win you back just to prove she still has influence. But the truth is, her behavior starts to revolve around you more than she ever expected. Her attempts to punish you turn into quiet admissions of weakness. Her silence becomes a signal. Her arrogance softens. But don't get confused here. This isn't love, it's tension. It's the emotional disorientation that comes when a woman realizes her usual methods no longer work on a man who sees through them. She's not falling in love with you. She's falling out of control. And that is the beginning of something far more dangerous for her. Because when a woman starts losing control over her emotions, she often doesn't recognize the internal collapse that's coming. The more she tries to regain that control through old strategies, the faster she breaks down. And you, if you're not careful, you might be tempted to help her. You'll think being gentle or giving her another chance will restore peace. But you have to understand, this moment isn't about saving her. It's about staying true to your own center. Your strength isn't in fixing her. It's in not being broken by her. If you hold that frame, if you stay composed in the storm, if you remain honest but immovable, you'll see something rare. You'll see her either grow up or disappear. Both are wins, but only one leads to anything real. It's easy to assume that when a woman destroys her relationship, her reputation, or her emotional stability for a man, it must be because he manipulated her, because he used charm or lies to win her over. But the truth is often more complex and far more uncomfortable. Many women don't destroy themselves because a man deceived them. They destroy themselves because, for the first time in their life, they felt something real, something they couldn't explain or control. You have to understand, most women aren't living in a state of emotional starvation. They're surrounded by men who give them attention, validation, love, and consistency. They're told they're beautiful, special, and deserving of the best. And yet, something still feels off. Something is missing. They're not consciously aware of it. They might even deny it if you ask them. But deep down, many women are starving for depth, not comfort, not gifts, not sweet messages, depth. And when they meet a man who carries that depth, who doesn't perform for their approval, who lives with a clear sense of inner direction, they feel something ancient begin to stir. It's not about what he says, it's about what he doesn't say. It's about how he makes decisions without consulting the emotional weather. It's about how he holds his gaze without trying to impress anyone. It's about how he seems to have already faced the parts of himself that others are still running from. That kind of man doesn't just attract her attention, he confronts her reality. He challenges the roles she's used to playing, the tricks she's used to using, the emotional games she's used to winning. And in doing so, he awakens something inside her that feels both terrifying and magnetic, the desire to surrender to something greater than herself. This is what most people misunderstand about female desire. It's not simply about pleasure or validation. It's about losing control in a way that feels meaningful. For a woman who spent her whole life controlling situations, controlling men, controlling her image, the idea of surrendering to a man who doesn't ask for anything is both terrifying and irresistible. She doesn't want to lose herself, but she wants to stop pretending for just one moment. She wants to be with a man who sees past her charm, who doesn't melt under her beauty, who isn't trying to get something from her. A man who forces her to ask, "Who am I really when I'm not in control?" And that kind of man, the one who holds steady while the world bends, makes her feel like she's finally found something worth falling into. That's why women risk it all, not because they're weak or impulsive, but because, for the first time, they've met a man who didn't flinch. And when he doesn't flinch, they realize how many masks they've been wearing. Now the pain begins, because she's in a relationship with someone who gives her everything she thought she wanted, but it suddenly feels dull, incomplete, too safe. And she can't stop thinking about the one man who gave her nothing, but somehow made her feel everything. She doesn't want to admit that, so she represses it. She tells herself it was just chemistry, just confusion, just a mistake. But it lingers, the memory of how calm he was, how little he reacted, how unmoved he seemed, yet how deeply she felt when he looked at her. He didn't say she was beautiful. He didn't text her late at night. He didn't need her to like him, and that's why she still thinks about him. Because in a world full of men who are desperate to be chosen, he was the first one who made her realize She was the one seeking validation. That flips her internal compass upside down. She's not used to that dynamic, and it forces her to confront a painful realization. Maybe she doesn't want to be in control. Maybe she's exhausted from always playing the powerful one. Maybe she wants someone who doesn't just match her intensity, but transcends it. That's when women start acting in ways that don't make sense. They'll walk away from a stable relationship. They'll lie to their friends. They'll betray their image of themselves, because somewhere inside, they felt something real, and they're willing to break everything that isn't real to touch it again. This is why women choose destruction, not because they're self-sabotaging, but because part of them believes that the man they lost was the truth, even if it was brief, even if nothing happened, even if he never touched her. The experience of meeting him, of standing in the presence of a man she couldn't predict, couldn't manipulate, couldn't label, created a split inside her. And no matter how hard she tries, she can't go back to sleep. You wanted to be desired. Now you are. But understand this. The man she'd die to sleep with is also the man who can destroy her when you awaken that part of a woman, the part that defies reason, betrays her morals, and burns her old life down just to taste you. You are no longer just a man. You become a symbol, a drug, a flame she can't touch without being consumed. And if you don't know what you're doing, you'll break her, you'll lose yourself, and the fire will take you both. So be careful. This power isn't free, and once it's in your hands, you'll never be able to go back to being harmless again.